Factoring part 2, which we have worked on in class. But here's the video. I would make sure that you are writing these down because the quiz questions that go along with this video will probably be similar to these questions. So first, check for the GCF. What do they have in common that you can factor out? I cannot factor anything out of there, so now I'm going to set up my box method. I'm going to be using box method for all of these. However, I'm going to finish by how you can guess and check if you wish to. Remember, with your box method, the first square is your first term and your last square is here. I multiply these two together and I get 24. So I'm going to write out the factors of 24. I have 3 and 8 and 4 and 6. I'm adding to get a positive also. So now I'm looking through which one of these add together to get a positive 11. So 3 and 8. When you write in the two terms that work, you have to make sure to write the x with it. Because remember, these two add together to get this middle term. So now I want to look out. Here's my leading box. What can I take out of here? Both of these have a 3 in common. What can I take out of here? They both have a 2 in common, and they both have an x in common. What can I take out of here? The only thing they have in common is my x. And what can I take out of here? They both have a 4 in common. This is where you want to make sure that these two multiply to get the 12, and these two multiply to get the 2x squared. And they do, which is great. So I'm going to have my x plus 4 2x plus 3. If you do guess and check, it's fine too. You always just want to make sure to guess your outside. So this would give me a 3x and check my inside. That would give me my 8x. And together, those still add up to get my middle term. So what about B? Again, first check for that G, C, F. What do you have in common that you can factor out? Well, all of these are divisible by 2. So I can take a 2 out of my equation, leaving me with 4x squared minus 4x minus 3. So now I'm going to actually already write my answer down here and making sure that I don't forget about that 2 I just took out. So I'm going to do the box method again. So when I do the box method, remember your first box is the x squared, your last box is the constant, the one that does not have any variable. Notice how the 2 is already down here, so I'm just focusing on this right here. So if I multiply those together, I get a negative 12. So writing out factors of 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4, one of them have to be negative because I'm multiplying to get a negative 12. These have to add together to get negative, so I'm going to put my negative with my smaller number. So looking at these, which two numbers or add together to get negative 4 would be negative 2x and positive 6x. It does not matter if you wrote down negative 2 here and then the 6 here, you should still get the same answer. So looking at these two, what do they have in common? They have a 3 in common. These two, oopsies, these two have a 2 and an x in common. Here, these also have a 2 and an x in common. And here, because this leading box is negative, this one right here, I have to take out a negative and just a 1. So again, I want to make sure that these two together give me my 4x, and these two together give me my negative 3, and they do. So 2x minus 1 and 2x plus 3. There you have it. I want you to pause the video and try to do C by yourself right now. So my box has the 4x squared and the 3. Multiply those together, get 12. Here, I'm adding to get a positive, and I'm multiplying to get a positive, so both of these are positive numbers. So 4 and 3 add together to get 7. I can take out a 3, a 4, an x and a 1. So my final answer would be x plus 3, x plus 1. I want you to try to do D and E by yourself right now. Pause the video and do D and E. So for D, you should get 2x minus 3, x minus 2. You're pulling them out here. Make sure that you're pulling them out in the right location, because if you're not pulling them out in the right location, you might have a different answer. And here, notice that the difference between this, since I'm multiplying to get a positive here, I have to have two negatives because these two have to add together to get negative. Here, I'm multiplying to get negative, so only one has to be negative. And when these add together, I need a positive 5, so I chose to put my negative with my smaller number. For F here, I have to first look at, do they have something in common? You should have asked that question for D and E too. However, D and E do not have anything in common. But for F, they do have a common number. I can take out a 2 from all of these, leaving me a 3x squared plus 31x plus 36. So now I want to factor this one. So I want you to pause the video and I want you to try to factor this, knowing that this 2 is already down here at the bottom. So set up your box method for this right here. So I didn't write down all the factors of 108 because I found the 2 that works. So 4 plus 27 equals 31. So I wrote those here. So I'm going to show you another thinking process that you could do. So I can pull out a 4 from both of these. I can pull out a 3 and an x. I can pull out 1x here. Now, if I'm kind of like, oh, what do they have in common? If I'm not sure, I can try to think 4 times what would give me 36? 4 times 9 would give me 36. So that means a 9 has to get pulled out here because, again, 9 times 4 should be this box. 3x times x should give me this box. So then my two equations would be 3x plus 4 and x plus 9. I want you to try to do G and H right now. G and H right now by yourself. So for G, you can take out a 4 first. Now, once I took out that 4, that made this term right here 1, so it makes it a little bit easier. So now I'm just looking at my factors of my C value. So multiply to get positive 9, add to get negative 6 would be negative 3 and negative 3. That 4 is still there, but now if I need to write down the other two, it would be x minus 3 and x minus 3. For H, they both have a 2 in common. So once I put that 2 down here, now you could still do this box method, but I know that 64 and 1, both of those are special numbers. So I'm going to guess and check that first. I should always look for my special numbers to guess and check those first. So I need to have two numbers that multiply to get 64x, and that'd be 8 times 8, and then a positive 1. But since I'm adding to get negative, both of these should be negative. So I check my outside, that gives me negative 8, and I check my inside, I get negative 8, and together it gives me a negative 16x. So I have the 2 from it first, then 8x minus 1 and 8x minus 1. This is kind of like the same thing. 81 and 100 are special numbers. So I could rewrite this just so I can visually see. I'm looking for numbers that multiply together with these two that would add together to get 0. But since these are special numbers, I'm going to try to test my special numbers first. So 81, the square root of 81 is 9 and 9. So 9 times 9 gives me 81. Two numbers that multiply to get 100 that are the same would be 10 and 10. Now, they need to multiply to get negative, so one has to be positive, one has to be negative. So now I'm going to check my outside and my inside. So my outside would give me a positive 90x. My inside would give me a negative 90x. And together, they equal 0. So my final answer here would be 9x minus 10 and 9x plus 10. Again, it does not matter if you had 9x plus 10 and then the 9x minus 10. It's still going to give you the right answer. So there you have it. I hope that was great, grand, wonderful. Have a great day.